Meet Grace Sani, a multifaceted individual born in Kogi State to Idoma and Igala parents. She is a supermodel, baker, and legal practitioner, showing her versatility in various roles.
My name is Grace Sani. I am from Kogi State, but I like to recognize both my parents, and I identify as an Igala and Idoma young lady. I'm a model, baker, and legal practitioner. I am many things to many people. It just depends on the room you walk into, because some people will call me a creative director, some people will call me a research assistant. Yes, I'm a research assistant to a PhD student, and some will call me an academic. It just really depends on what room you are in. So I went to primary school in University of Abuja Staff School. My mother was a lecturer there. So I started primary school there and I finished primary school there. But I was born in Benue State. I was born in Makurdi. Then I went to school in Nsukka. I spent 1 year there and I was so tired and frustrated. It was so far from home. I just hated the fact that they couldn't come for my visiting day. I was basically not in school. Then my parents told me, okay, if you pass, then we're going to remove you from the school. And suddenly I started passing and I also I didn't delivery. I'm like, no, I wasn't. I was just really tired of the distance. Then I came back to University of Abuja Staff Secondary School until JS3. Then I went to Global College in Kogi State to finish my secondary school. So obviously, my parents pushed me towards law. I mean, it's the logical thing. If you're an art student, it's either law or I don't know what. I wanted to study English because I really enjoyed English in school and I wanted to really just be an English teacher in life. But my parents were like, if you study law, you can do anything, which is true. I'm doing so many things. And they're like, it's better you have it instead of not having it. So I went to ABU Zaria and I got my degree in law. I didn't like it then, but when I went to law school, I enjoyed the experience. I enjoyed the experience so much that I don't know if I would say I fell in love with law again. It was not something I really liked, because the real reason my parents said I should study law is because when I was in primary school, primary 1, I said I wanted to be a lawyer, but I also said I wanted to be a nurse, and I also said I wanted to be a doctor. So there's so many things I said I wanted to be. But I fell in love with law again in law school. So I knew that I would definitely eventually pursue another degree in it. So after law school, I went to NYC. I went for NYC in Nasarawa State. My camp was in Gombe, but it was so far from home. I think you can obviously tell already that I don't like being far from home. It was so far from home that my parents had to find a way to get me closer to home. And my mom wasn't feeling fine at that period, so I just had to be closer to the house. During my NYC, after my call to bar, she passed. So it was obviously a very difficult period. I tried to be active there, but it was very hard to be active, and I was just so grateful when the whole thing was over. I think end of 2020, let me backtrack. I started baking in 2019. I had an extra year, and to get through the difficulty of it, I was extremely depressed. I just started baking, and I'm obsessive. So when I started baking, I immersed myself in everything you could imagine. I was watching YouTube videos, I was reading vlogs, I was just obsessed with acquiring knowledge. In the night, you just hear me watching videos. I was, I would make peanut butter myself, I'll make cheese, I'll make butter, I'll make buttermilk. I was so into the baking, before the end of the year, people were asking me to start selling my cakes. And I was like, no, I'm just doing it because I like it. They're like, no, sell your cakes, you have to, they're so nice. And that's how I became a baker. So by 2020, I had taken up baking as a career. Then 2020, I went to law school, I put it on hold. Then COVID, I started baking again. Then 2021, NYC, my mom passed.
Despite being an introvert, Grace has chosen career paths that often require extroversion, such as modeling and singing. Her passion for the arts drives her to push beyond her comfort zone.
End of that 2021, I just said, I really want to be a model. was like, I want to be a model. I want to actually be a proper model. Like, it's not all this taking pictures, they'll pay you for this one, they'll pay you for that one. I wanted to actually be a model. So I told my friend, I told all of them, I called a couple of people together. You know, I had photographer friends. I took my Polaroids. I started putting myself out there. And what's very funny about me deciding to be a model and being a lawyer is that I'm shy. So it didn't really make a lot of sense. It's like, why would you choose this career path that requires you to be in front of so many people? I still remember my first court appearance when they called my name. They called me and I was supposed to, you know, my principal wasn't in court, so it was only me. That was my first time. And they called me, I was like, they said, who is taking this? So they called my name. I stopped, I said, it's me. I raised my hand. I answered and called out my name, so Esquire. I sat down. The next time I had to stand up again, I was basically shaking, you know. And then when it was over, I was like, oh no, I'm never going to do this again. But of course I did it again and I did it again until I got used to it. Then I think at the end of 2022, I was like, oh, I have to get a job. Like, modeling is inconsistent. And I'm so sorry. If you're a dark-skinned model, it is even harder because people don't really, I'm not saying everybody, but a lot of people don't really want to work with you. They prefer lighter skinned models. They prefer half castes or, you know, mixed girls. And, you know, they feel it represents them better. It's more luxurious. I don't know what that says about my skin tone, but yeah. So it was quite difficult to get gigs that first year that I decided to be serious. So I decided to get a job. Luckily for me, a friend of mine just sent, and I was like, oh, I don't want to do a full-time job, and I certainly do not want to work in a law firm. That was the first thing I said, I don't want to work in a law firm. And my dad was like, just let me refer you. Let's do this. I was like, no, I'm not interested. Something tragic happened to a friend that worked in a law firm. She was stabbed coming back from work. So I feel like my dad just sort of let me be. Then, as God would have it, a friend of mine texted me and said, oh, so and so person is looking for an assistant. I go for the first day of my interview. It was, I don't know, I didn't know how I did. I tried my best, and then I had done some research work previously with someone, so it's sort of aligned. But I didn't have any experience in the field. She is an international development expert. She's a communication specialist. So I didn't have any experience in that area. It was brand new for me, and she knew she was going to have to teach me everything from scratch, which is what she did. So I stayed there for like a year plus, and I was modeling still, you know, on and off. It wasn't very consistent. I applied to be Face of Zaron 3 times, and I didn't even get through the first stage the first 2 times. And then eventually the last time I got in, you know, then I won it. I was one of the Faces of Zaron 2023 to 2024, and it was a very beautiful experience. So that sort of gave me, I wouldn't say it gave me a boost. When I was in Lagos, I met somebody there, and like that's like, we did some work that also put me somewhere else to work with more people, and it was fun. That I would see that as sort of like a peak, a moment that gave me a boost in modeling. Like the Zaron was great, and then meeting the right people, and it also forced me to come out of my shell, because I remember my first day on set for Zaron, and I was so shy that I couldn't do what needed to be done. But the CEO was so amazing. Like everybody on set, they were so great. They were so kind. They were so, you know, they spoke to me, cajoled me until I actually got to, you know, do the work. And that forced me out of my shell. So it made it easier for me to perform like every other way. Sometime last year, my sister and my elder sister were talking. I was like, oh, it won't be bad if I get my master's. And she was like, yeah, it's true. And I'm like, but the problem is my result isn't good enough to get one directly. And she was like, okay, so you want to now just sit at home and then be like, I wish I could get my master's, or you could take this 1 year and get your PGD, and before long you're getting your master's. And I was like, okay, let's see. I told my dad. He didn't want me to get it in law because he knew how much I hated it in ABU. So they're like, he was like, look for another course, something maybe in international development, something, maybe even English. And I was like, no, I want to do law, because like I wanted to be, so the particular focus I had was IT and communications. So once I saw it, I was like, oh yeah, I'm definitely going to get my master's. And so I had to leave my job, and it was amazing. Like, the whole experience in school has been great. It has been really, I wouldn't say fun. Has not been fun, but it has been nice. So I'm getting my PGD in Now University. Yeah, so generally, I think that's it. Oh yeah, my hobbies. I like singing. My parents are pastors. Well, my dad is a pastor, my mom was a pastor, so obviously I sang in church. I was in choir for a bit. I like writing, I like reading, and I like dancing, but I cannot dance, but I like it. To be honest, I am not sure what exactly drives me. I just know that all of these things I want to do, that's like, so for instance, law really has something to do with my mother. She was so excited about the idea of me being a lawyer, right? And so even when I want to give up, even when I don't want to do it, I just think of her like, oh yeah, this is why I have to go after this. She will be so proud of me when I eventually get my PhD. Yeah, that's the goal. When I eventually like build all of these things, I want her to be able to look at me from wherever she is and be proud of me. I just know that it is something I need to do. It is something I need to do. These are things I need to do. They're just what God has created me to do. Yeah. Once somebody said, it's like you're created to be a model. And I felt slightly insulted, because I was like, what does that mean? It's almost demeaning in a way. It's like I said, I was just created to pose. But on my own end, I was actually demeaning the work I was looking at it as something less, right? I didn't understand, right, that this is what God had in mind for me, right? So all of these things are what God wants me to do. So I know sometimes it seems like a lot, and people are like, oh my God, this is so much. But I'm like, this is what God wants me to do. Like, He has put these things in my hand, and I love doing them. I enjoy doing them. If I'm on set, I forget about everything. When I'm reading, like, these are things I'm passionate about. I can't explain what it is behind it. I just know this is what I am meant to do. And I don't want to one day be on my dying bed and then feel like I never did all the things I should have done. I want to know that I extended myself and I exhausted everything that I was given to do.
Grace's role models include her mother, who embodies strength, friendship, generosity, commitment, and hard work, amongst other people. These qualities inspire Grace to strive for excellence in her own life and career.
I have so many role models for different facets of my life. So first of all, I'll say my mother. She modeled a perfect, not perfect, nobody's perfect, but she was a wonderful mother, and everything she did, she gave her all to. She was committed in church, she was committed at work, she was a great friend. I always say my mother is how I learned how to be a friend to people, right? My auntie used to say that my mother's mantra for her life was anywhere my auntie put her leg, she put her leg right behind her. So it's like, if you're entering anywhere, if you're making a new friend and you just look behind my mom's cousin, who was her best friend, my mother's leg is right behind her, making that friend with her. She never had to go anywhere in life without knowing my mother was right behind her. And that's how my mother was to all her friends. Her friends' children, she was friends with them. She was friends with my friends. She would call them randomly. How are you doing? Are you fine? Even when I'm not communicating with my friends, my mother is communicating with my friends. She wanted to see them. She genuinely loved these people. There was just so much to learn from her, her kindness, her committedness. Even when she was sick, going to visit people that were sick. That's just how she was, right? And saying things like, oh, this person is going through so much. I'm like, you're also going through so much, but it's just the way that she was. She actually tried her best, because she wasn't perfect, but she tried her best to live out the values that she claimed she had. So another person is my father. He's one of the kindest people I know. He can give you the last money in his pocket. He genuinely just gives as much as he can. He is kind, he is patient, and he has, lived his life since I've known him. I mean, not since he married, since before he married, he has been a Christian, a pastor, and he also he's a very brilliant man, and he's very committed to his work that he did. Then I would say my former boss, NNE AJMB. She's someone that if I say second is an exaggeration, but when I leave her, I used to want to go back and write notes because she's so wise, she's intelligent, she's beautiful, she carries herself with so much grace, and she's diligent and committed. There's just so much to admire in a person like that. So if I try to explain it, you would not get it. You just have to be around her. Like, you would be so inspired by how she works and how she tries her best to be the best at what she does. Then casually, I would say just somebody random. I'll say Agbani Darego, because she was one of the first dark-skinned models, right? Agbani Darego, definitely. Then I would say Big H. He's a photographer. He's incredible. He's a great businessman. I call him Onyisi. You know that in Igbo, that one boyo system, that system of master, and yeah, he's a good master. He's somebody that I admire how he works, and I always feel like, oh God, I just hope one day I can be like this. You know, a person always looking to improve, a person always looking to make themselves better at their crafts, and you know, generally.
Grace draws daily inspiration from her faith, believing that she has been endowed with unique gifts and talents, and feels a sense of responsibility to utilize these gifts to their full potential.
I do draw inspiration from my roots. Every time I have to work on a project, like I come up with like a shoot, I always try to make it a bit African. It's harder to do something outrightly, let's say, Idoma, or something outrightly Igala, but I always find myself in rooms with like creatives that my tribe. I mean, I'm not a tribalist, but I find myself in rooms with creatives that my tribe or my, you know, they're either Idoma or Igala. We find a way to bond. And one of my goals is to tell our stories, right? To put the stories out there. There's a movie, I think, Inali. It's an Idoma movie. Did they speak Idoma through it? I know they spoke Idoma in some parts, but it's based on like a children's story of the girl who married someone that she did not know or something like that. No, her slave made her a mermaid. Yes, that story. I want to tell those stories too. So for now, where I'm at, I'm unable to pour it out. But I know one day when I'm in the position to like tell the stories, I would definitely tell those stories. Because I'm deeply, like, you just have to spend, so I know my roots, I'm very familiar with it. I might not speak the languages, but I spent a lot of because my father was a pastor, we used to travel, like he used to travel to different villages to preach. We used to go to our village for Christmas, go to Makodi for Christmas. We used to, you know, I'm very familiar with my traditions, and I spent 3 years in Ankpa. Ankpa is a local government in Kogi State. It's an Igala local government, and surprisingly, that local government is where my mother was born. In fact, the village where my school was, her father was situated there and worked there as a prisons officer at some point.
As a proud Idoma and Igala individual, Grace's cultural roots significantly influence her work and perspective as she draws inspiration from her heritage, using her platform to promote awareness about important issues including rights and gender-based concerns.
In the fashion industry, as a muse, I like to think that my skin color, being, you know, representing people of my skin color is something very important. Let young girls my age see me and be inspired. You know, they're like, oh, look at her, she's my complexion. A lot of times in the media, it might be unconscious, but it is, our skin colors are not very, you know, I think there was an ad that they even had to take down where there was a light-skinned person walking and everybody was staring at them. The dark skin people were sort of seen as like less or like, unattractive. And when you start using this product, you get the attractive side, which is you become light skinned. And it was obviously in bad taste because unconsciously they have fed us with so much hate for ourselves. Like, you don't like your hair, they're like, oh, you need to dress up. What does dress up mean? Wear a straight wig, you understand? Oh, you need to, what does that mean? You need to lighten your skin unconsciously. These are issues that we've had for a very long time. And we need to start, working actively to, repeal those dangerous narratives. I think that's one way. And then, of course, for law, it's empowering because I personally am very passionate about creatives knowing their rights. Models end up at the disadvantage in a lot of deals because they're not very aware of, this is what the law says. This is how you can ensure that you are legally protected from being taken advantage of. This is how you can ensure that you get more money out of a deal. There are some deals you sign that it's not a one-time payment. You pay today and then over time you are giving, interest on those things. Yeah, so people, I educate people. If you have a conversation with me, I always educate people. I educate young models like, oh yeah, try to protect yourself, try to make better deals. I think in that way. And of course, generally when I'm speaking, I try to speak to female issues, gendered issues, right? I'm very vocal about it. And if I'm ever given the chance, I try to work in any capacity I can to, speak to these issues that women face in society.
Grace's future aspirations include building a stronger brand, achieving academic milestones, as she advises younger women not to be afraid to pursue their passions, remain focused on their goals, write down their vision, and work towards achieving it.
Well, hopefully in 5 years I'll have my PhD. That's the one thing I'm sure of that I want to have in 5 years. I hope that my business will be more settled, right? And it will be functioning without me, with my recipes, but without me in the day-to-day running of the business, right? It's already running without me. That's my baking business, the Butter Fairy. For now, there's just a lot going on. Nigeria is so hectic and I stay very far away. I stay in Gwagwalada. So I'm even having to put a pause on the baking business until like August so that by then I've moved to town. It will be easier just to run the business from there because of the cost of transportation and all that. So I'm hoping that by then the business can run without me. It's fully functioning, it's carrying my dreams, it's giving people the cake that they wanted to eat that nobody could bake because that's why I started baking. And then what else? I would still be a model, but not as I am now. I would have definitely hit, by God's grace, I would have hit the peak of that and I would have transited into like content creation and strategy, creative strategy. Be focused. You need to be focused. Without focus, you won't get anything done. You have to keep your eyes on the goal. What are you trying to do? Write the vision, make it clear, and go after it. Be driven. You don't have a choice, And I would also say try as much as possible to come out with an excellent result from school. People try to undermine education, but education is the easiest way to achieve success. It's the fastest way. And there's also something about getting educated that transforms you, right? There's something about it. I didn't get to graduate with a good result from ABU, but I know a friend who did. And while we're both thriving in our careers, if you had to employ one of us and I was the person in charge, I would pick her because the reason a person gets a good result is that they are committed and diligent. So if you're young and you're coming up, focus on school. Yeah, you might have different things you want to do, but let school be your priority. And then after school, you get to, do other things.
Her favorite quote is, "Whenever you start, that is your morning." This quote encapsulates her approach to life, emphasizing the importance of taking action and embracing new beginnings.
One of my favorite quotes that I recently picked up is an Igbo proverb. And Chimamanda said it in a speech, and I picked it up. I needed that pick up in that moment, and it was, whenever you wake up, that is your morning.
Grace Sani is an embodiment of persistence, beauty, and growth, inspiring others with her multifaceted personality and achievements.
You don't have to stop saying, I wish I started in January. I wish I started in 2020. I wish I started in 2022. I wish I started. Oh yeah, now, start now. This is your morning. You are up now. Do it. No, that's something I try to live by. When I have a cake order, the night before, I would bake, put it in the freezer. So I'll wake up first thing in the morning by like 5 to frost that cake. Pack it up with the help of my cousin, who is my PA, my unofficial PA. I pack up the cake, then I shower. If I have a shoot, I shower, I order a ride, I put the cake in the car, I deliver the cake, I head to my shoot. That's if it's to deliver the cake to one place, I head to my shoot, try as much as possible to focus on my shoots. But in between, those shoots, if I have other things, like maybe I have different things I do, I pick up my phone, I check what do I have to do. If I'm with my laptop, I'm trying to type one thing or the other, ensure that I'm sending. If I have to post content, I'm posting that content in the, downtimes during the shoot, or when they're shooting another model. I'm trying to ensure I'm doing this. Then once that is done, I'm done with my shoot. I'm done with my other deliverables for like my work. Then if I have to meet, because currently I'm a research assistant to a PhD student, so if we have to meet up to maybe exchange, I need to maybe collect interviews to transcribe. I collect those things from him, and then I head to school, because I'm in school. After school, this is by like 3 now. After school, I go back home, have dinner, then I start transcribing. Once I'm done transcribing, I try as much as possible to do a family activity, which is watch a YouTube movie and complain that the YouTube movie is bad. Then I go to sleep. Yeah. And in all this, when I wake up in the morning, I pray. When I sleep, I pray. And during the day, I just try as much as possible to catch like random glimpses of scriptures on my phone. My name is Grace Sani. I'm a legal practitioner, model, and baker. This is my girl power story.